40s and 50s, because it was such a different time, and everything changed in the 60s. So at that time there wasn't that many cars in Ireland, there was no TV, and it was like a totally different era than what happened later on. That Arses and Elbows thing, it was a great expression of my mother's. When we'd come home and our elbows would be ripped out and our arses would be ripped out. And she said, look at him, he hasn't got an arse and an elbow on him. So I'm just going to read a little bit about my mother. There was 8 of us in the family. We had 5 sisters, 2 brothers. And I don't know how they kept going, the women, and I'd say the vast majority of the women in Ireland, how they kept going. But they were incredible people, you know. And I often thought after, I emigrated. We all emigrated except 2 of us. And I had no problem emigrating. I was glad to get out of it. But when you think after what your mother put up with, everybody leaving little by little, and how sad it must have been for them. Well, I didn't think about that then, but after I did. So I'm going to read a little bit about my mother. As we got older and began to leave, emigrating to Britain and the US, she wrote long letters to us in her beautiful handwriting, and her letters had more news than the local newspaper. She herself had left school at 14, but her writing was full of flourishes, with proper spelling, and it was obvious she took pleasure in her penmanship and writing ability. She wrote faithfully to me through the years, and I wrote back in my awful penmanship. I blamed her on being left-handed, though not as often as I should have. I held on to one of her letters so I could show it to my children someday as proof that when I boasted of my mother's beautiful penmanship. She wasn't demonstrative in her love, none were back then, but we knew by how hard she worked for us how much she loved us. When I came for a funeral, I hardly recognized the little woman laid out in her Sunday best as the mother who gave birth and raised us all, the inexhaustible, unstoppable energy force. She who had been such an influence in our lives. She had completed the circle, born weak and helpless, grown strong and resilient, and fading into small and helpless again. But by God, she had left her mark. She and the mothers of the village were vital forces of nature, rising from slumber, yearning for battle, to watch a child grow closer to adulthood, and able to care for oneself, leave the nest, and her care and vigilance. She watched with a mixture of pride and regret as they boarded trains, planes, and ships. Mission accomplished, task completed. She returned to a suddenly empty house, sliding toward the culmination of her life, and dependent now on letters and phone calls and abrupt visits to know how they were doing. They whose noses she blew, whose faces she washed, whose cares she dissipated, whose little bodies she dosed, head stroked, bottom spanked, hair combed. Adults now striding toward their future, glancing back to see the small figure receding into a speck, a time past, a future awaiting, a life passing, a life beginning. The eternal circle. But oh, what memories we were left, what gratitude we have, what words and deeds we remember, keep us honest and striving, and maybe somewhat as good as they were in the tasks allotted, the children assigned. For those women were giants in the activities of daily living, in how to forage and stretch a penny, make ends meet, and ultimately to keep us safe. I see her years later after I returned from America. She's 94 now and sits by the fire, shrunken, crippled by arthritis in both knees. The arthritis, she calls it. We talk and she asks if I ever see Jim in America. I hesitate and then tell her, but ma'am, I am Jim. She laughs, a high girlish laugh, to hide her embarrassment, and answers, "Of course you are, I'm going queer." In her letters she would admonish me to mind yourself, would always sprinkle me with holy water when I left. "It'll keep you safe," she would say, and it did. And no one will love me as she did.